Okay. Okay. We are live. Had a minor technical issue. Minor technical issue. Okay. I am hoping that you can hear me now. Hold on. Okay. Uh, okay, I see there's people in the room. Respond if you can hear me. Respond if you can hear me. Yes. Okay. Yes, I can hear you. Okay, good. That's all I needed. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your patience. Had a minor technical issue this afternoon, but that doesn't stop the show. That doesn't stop the show at all. Okay. All right. Sorry, I had a bunch of windows unnecessarily open. So, okay. Getting started. Okay. Thank you for waiting. Okay, before we begin, I just want to really introduce myself. My name is Natasha Gray, and I am the host of the Quiet Mic podcast, as well as the founder of the House of Quiet Impact. Okay, and I am super duper excited to be doing this. A little bit about me and why I started to do uh, the House of Quiet Impacts and why I wanted to do these conversations, right? It started out of a lot of things pertaining to leadership, and we'll be getting into that today. But the House of Quiet Impact is about a space for those that lead as entrepreneurs, as service providers, as entrepreneurs, service providers, consultants in that field. But we lead differently, right? And with that, there seems to not be a space, right? And I noticed that over my 17 years that I spent in HR. And I came across a lot of different personalities, and one of which those personalities I will say is myself. I lead quietly, I lead differently, and I noticed that there was a lot being put out there that said otherwise. Okay. And that's something that I want to get into today. But I really wanted to be intentional with coming live today because I've been working behind the scenes for months, right? And I've been building community, been building content, been building resources that will help other people. But then I said, you know what? Why have I not shared this information or even shared that I even exist with people that are in the same space as me? So here I am and being intentional about it. So one thing that I want to say to you is you are enough. And I think that that doesn't get said a lot in this space of quiet leaders. And I want to amplify that, right? And that's the whole purpose in being here today. Can you still hear me? Because I see there's people in the room. Can you still hear me? I'm going to assume that yes, you can. So, yes. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Thank you. I wrote some notes, so forgive me, but I wanted to make sure that I was very intentional with the information that I want to go over with today with you. So I have a little notebook here of information that I wanted to share with everybody. Whether you're catching it now in the room, because I know there's people in the room as well, or if you are catching this at a later stream, I appreciate it all. And one thing I'm definitely going to ask you to do is to like and to subscribe and to share so that we can amplify this community, so that we can amplify this message to share with many other people. Okay. So I want to talk about why quiet leadership matters. Thank you. Thank you so much. I see you in the comments. I really want to talk about why this matters, right? There's a myth out there, and it's a very common myth, right? That common myth is that in order to be a leader, you have to be the loudest person in the room. And I don't know if any of you have ever encountered that, where, they're telling you that you need to be louder. You need to be much louder, or you need to be like so and so. You need to be like them. So that way, that means you're a leader. Um, Ditch that. We're not doing that, right? This is 2025. We're not doing that. And that's exactly what I wanted to talk about today. Um, Leadership is all about how you show up, right? It's not about how loud you are. Um, it's all about presence. It's all about um, how that presence resonates with those that are in the room, okay? And that's what matters. So don't let anybody tell you that volume equals leadership, right? Because that's so not true, okay? And I'm here to tell you, as a person that led very successfully in HR, a little bit about myself. I don't think I went into too much detail. I worked prior to this, I worked in human resources for over 17 years, right? And in that 17-year period, I um, held a lot of different positions. And in those positions, I had other leaders that I consulted. I led some leaders through some very difficult times in their careers where they had to make some very challenging choices as leaders. I led my own team. And I learned so much. I trained others. I even led others when I wasn't aware at the time that I was leading, right? But in that, I had people that would come back afterwards and say, what you said really meant a lot to me. And I'm like, oh my goodness, wow. And it didn't hit me right away, right? But then as the years passed, that feeling, that messaging, it resonated, right? It kept coming back. And with that, I was like, I think it's okay just to be me. I went through the whole, someone telling me I needed to be someone else in order to be looked at as a leader, right? I went through why don't you speak louder? Why don't you be someone else? I tried it, felt miserably. Okay. And I want to tell you that does not have to be your story. Okay. That is not you. We lead with clarity. We lead with consistency. And that is enough to build trust. And it gets noticed in rooms where you may not think that it gets noticed. Okay. So I'm here to let you know that. Now, I want to start about this myth. Going back, I know I segued just a little bit to give you a little bit of my history, but I want to get back to this myth, right? And I want to talk about this myth that you have to be loud in order to be a leader. And I feel really compelled to tell people that because that myth is big and that myth is very loud. And when you're dealing with something like that, people don't know, kind of where to start or feel like leadership is not for them, right? I am here to tell you that if you feel that there's pressure all the time for you to post, if there's and you have nothing to say, right? Like, let's say they're always like, okay, so you need to post, you need to post, you need to post. In this world of social media where it can be very loud, right? But you don't have anything to say. Or if there's a belief out there that you feel that you have to constantly show up on camera um, just to be considered on or taken seriously. Or if you just feel like you're falling behind because you're not, maybe the most talkative person in the room. All of those things out there are what people resonate as being real leadership. Okay. And quiet leaders, such as myself, and more than likely, such as you and others, we influence rooms differently. We influence the world differently. Okay. We're not here to dominate a room. Okay. But the energy that's in that room is shaped by us. Okay. We tend to ask better questions. We tend to create space for others to maybe speak up or to even just think. We think before we speak. Okay. And when we do speak, I'll tell you, people listen. Why? Because we've earned their trust. Okay. I want you to think for a moment about somebody in your life that doesn't talk much, right? That when they do, everyone listens, right? Maybe it's a mentor that pauses before they respond. Maybe it's that friend that just shows up and they're just always there with calmness and thoughtfulness and like, wow, I'm just so glad you're here. They may come to your event and their presence alone just brings a sense of calm. Or maybe it's you. Maybe it's you. Maybe you're the go-to person for a lot of people where you're like, when did I start wearing this hat? When did I start carrying this torch, so to speak, to be the calm one, right? I can think back to a leadership meeting that I was part of when I worked at HR. That room was full of people that were like so quick to talk. And they were the first to react. They had full energy. And I was just like, oh, goodness gracious, what in the world is going on here? One of those rooms where like everybody had something to say. But there was a woman that was in there who barely said anything the entire meeting. And all she did was she just sat there and she just listened. For a time, I was like, she zoned out. Like she had no interest. But what she was doing, she was taking it all in. And then close to the end of the conversation, she spoke up. Surprisingly, right? Because I think a lot of people just kind of ruled her out, that she just, again, had just tuned everyone out and just was not present, so to speak. She spoke. She was very calm. She was very clear. And when she did that, the entire tone of the room shifted. She didn't argue with anybody. She didn't go back to back, with back and forth with anybody. But when she spoke, people listened. And that struck a good nerve with me, right? Because what that told me is that, again, I've had many lessons, but that one stuck out in particular, because what that one situation told me is that, wow, this person is not loud at all. This person kind of just knew enough about herself where she didn't have to be someone that she wasn't. And I will tell you that in that moment, she became the most respected person in that room. Her influence did not come from any type of volume, so to speak, but it came from two things. One, she knew when to speak. And two, she knew exactly what to say. All right. That owned the room. That's what I like to call quiet presence. And I want you to think about that, right? But we're going to go into some examples of actually three different ways that we as quiet people can lead with real authority. And that can be whether it's in real life or if it's in business or even if you're a behind the scenes person. I will tell you, I have been in all three of those those spaces, whether it's in life, business, or behind the scenes. I've been, as I mentioned to you earlier, I was behind the scenes for months, working and working and working, which, I had a lot of interaction with other people. And as I thought about it, I'm like, that's a form of quiet leadership that I wasn't even really understanding as, as they call them, the worker bee and things like that. But I will say I have worn all three hats at different times. Okay. So the first one that I want to get into with you is about quiet influence that's built on trust and not noise. I told you I have my notes, and I don't want to forget anything. So, quiet influence that's built on trust. And with that, I want to tell you that quiet people often influence in the background before anyone else even notices. And a lot of times we as quiet leaders don't even notice that we're leading in the background, right? Which is it's kind of cool if you think about it, because it's like, oh, well, I'm doing all these things and I'm being a leader behind the scenes. Nobody knows it. Like, I don't even notice it. But then when that work comes to life, then it's like, oh, wow, I did that, right? So just had to sidebar and say that. But you don't have to lead with some, charisma. You can just lead with being consistent. And what does that look like? So if you have a team member who always comes prepared, never misses a deadline, people always rely on them without even thinking about it, right? That's a form of quiet influence built on trust, right? Or let's just say in this capacity, you're watching this, you're a business owner, and you don't post constantly. Guilty, right? You're just working, you're getting the work done. But when you do, it's very thoughtful, it's very helpful, it's very intentional. That is a way of building quiet influence with trust, okay? Why? Because people are not looking for a frequency all the time, okay? What they're looking for is that you have value to them and that you're consistent with them. Okay. So anytime you post, it's value. Now, you can be a person that posts every day and it can be of great value. Great. But if you're a quiet leader and you're like, it gives me such anxiety to have to post, I can't do it. I can't do it. Then, think about that. Okay. Because the frequency is not necessarily what's, when I say frequency, I mean like an everyday thing, right? Like you do need to be consistent. But oftentimes the information, the thoughtfulness and the helpfulness that you post, the intentionality of your post is what speaks louder than anything else. Okay. Or another example to think about is, let's say a parent or a partner or a spouse that comes around and they just create like this safe haven for you, right? Like this sense of calm and a sense of security and safety just from their presence being around, especially in those like super high stress moments. I always think back to like, you have kids that, might have like a stuffed animal or something like them, or a stuffed friend. That may just be something that brings them calm. The same way, I just explained to you that about it could be a parent or a partner or something like that. That just brings some feeling of stability just in their presence. Okay. Now, in your business, if you're the kind of person that just really takes time to respond, and you just really lean into what people are saying, and you're leaning into things that people might be asking, or you pause before you speak. Those are all ways to build trust, right? Those are ways that people really start to lean in and be like, oh, okay. Oh, okay, type of thing. So keep that in mind. You're more than likely leading without knowing that you're leading. Okay. So I want to move on to number two. And number two is visibility is not the same as credibility. Okay. I want to say that again. Being visible is not the same as being credible. Okay. I think that there's this idea that you have to be everywhere to be seen as an expert. Okay. But I'm here to tell you being visible does not automatically mean more trust. Now, what would mean more trust is being in the right room with the right people to build that trust. Okay. So, what does that look like? So, it could look like um, if you're a coach who posts, let's say you post once a week, but you share client stories or deep insights that really, really resonate with people. That's something that adds to credibility. It's once a week, but every time you do it, they're like, oh my goodness, people walk away like, wow, type of thing. So another thing, let's say that you're a designer, whether it's in IT, fashion, whatever, and you decide to let your referrals and your portfolio speak for itself versus you having to post to social media 20,000 times a month. You're letting your work speak for itself as opposed to having to post all the time. Okay. Another example could be, let's say you're a consultant and you show up with clarity in every conversation that you have, even if you're not broadcasting your process online, but you show up. Okay. Those are all examples of just building that credibility, right? And I want to tell you, in business, it's okay if you don't want to be in every platform, okay? I'm one of them. You can pick one or two places where your presence is like super meaningful and consistent. And guess what? That's enough. That's it. Okay? One or two places where your presence is going to be meaningful and helpful and you show up with consistency. And that really, really is enough. Okay? So you don't have to overdo it. Okay. Remember, people are going to remember clarity. They're not going to remember frequency in most cases. Okay. Like if you're news and stuff like that, yeah, the once a week thing probably isn't going to cut it. They're looking for you to bring the news every single day, multiple times throughout the day. Right. So it depends. But in most cases, the frequency is not what's going to be remembered. It's going to be the information that you gave them in that moment. Okay. And then number three, okay. Number three is that silence is a leadership tool. Okay. Silence can feel very uncomfortable. And I'm here to tell you, I've seen so many situations where leaders feel that it's too quiet or I'm too quiet, so I need to fill that space, right? And that's not necessary. A lot of times that myth that leaders have been taught that they have to have quick answers and they have to have strong opinions, but the silence is what creates space. And guess what? It makes people lean in even more. So when you're thinking like, I gotta yell, I have to shout so that they can hear me and then they'll know I'm a leader, that silence makes them lean in more. It's a little secret. Okay, now, in moving on, I want to make sure that I give you some examples about what this could look like, right? Let's say you're speaking or someone asks you a question. Wait a few seconds, okay? Let the other person think about either the question that they've asked or the question that you asked them. It can work both ways. Instead of rushing to fill that space, okay? One thing you will hear me often say is there is power in the pause, all right? I can't tell you the number of times that I have paused before responding, and it made all the difference. For one, for myself, it took the level of anxiety away, right? It took away that like, oh my goodness, what do I say? What do I say? To collecting my thoughts and then responding, okay? And it's fine to say, you know what? I need to think about that. And then say why you need to think about that. That's totally fine. Oftentimes people respect you more because it comes down to a level of respect. Oftentimes people respect you more for taking that pause and taking a moment to think so that you have a thoughtful response rather than just blurting something out and then like, oh goodness, I don't think what I said was accurate. I don't think that what I said made sense. So just keep that in mind, okay? Another thing to think about as an example is making sure that that pause says something, okay? You can hold a boundary without saying something. And one example that comes to my mind is, parents. My mother, I love her to life, right? My mother, when I was growing up, she had a way of saying something with your face without saying anything. And I used to always wonder, how does she look at me without saying anything? And I just knew I needed to straighten up, right? And so a lot of times that's what I mean by there's power in the pause. My mother would sit there and she would just give that look. And it's like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be doing that. Or maybe I shouldn't have said that. And I think that that was an amazing trait that as I got older, I think that that carried on with myself. Let's say that. But she mastered it because it was like the minute I saw that look, okay, you know what? She's not playing. Okay, I just need to do right, right? So that's the example I want to give in that is that your silence or your pause it carries weight. Okay, so don't think that it doesn't. A lot of times you can say something without saying something. Okay, and if you're in business, you can use that silence on like a sales call. You can simply ask a question and then just wait. Or if you're a coach and you're the person that your client may ask a question or something like that, or they just may be speaking. Don't necessarily be so quick to rush and give advice. Pause. Okay. Or let's just say you're doing content and you're trying to figure out something. It's okay to know when to pause and just let your message land, right? They call that the mic drop, right? A mic drop moment is totally fine. I live for the mic drop moments, by the way. But silence is something that helps you build authority. Why? Because it means that you are not afraid of quiet. Okay. I think a lot of people are afraid of silence. They're afraid of stillness. And they feel like I need to occupy this space. I need to occupy this silence and say something or do something. Because if I don't, I'm going to lose them. No, it's okay. It's okay. So I want to leave you with a question to think about, right? My question for you is what's a moment in your life when your quiet presence made a difference, right? So, it can be a variety of things. You can think of a time when, let's say you maybe helped calm down a real tense conversation that was being had. Or let's just say you stayed after a meeting and you gave someone just some kind words that like just really changed their day. They had no idea. They maybe were tense. It was a very stressful meeting, and you stayed behind and just said something. I mean, it'd be truthful though, but you said something that was like, you did a really good job. I really resonated with what you were saying, or something like that, right? Or let's say it's a conversation or a meeting where you didn't even speak first, but like when you did, your idea changed the direction of the entire conversation. You stayed consistent, right? Even when nobody noticed. But then later, you had somebody come to you and ask you for support and leadership. And I can definitely speak to that because I've taught many workshops and I'll just say different teachings of different topics. And there were several times where someone came up to me afterwards and I wasn't I didn't have any expectation, but they came up to me afterwards and just said, Natasha, I really enjoyed what you were talking about. I'm like, really? And in that moment, they went into detail and saying like, I didn't understand, coming into it, what that was going to look like for me, right? But after I left, I was like, wow, I really like that. Whatever it is. And this is something that, again, it caught me off guard. But as it started happening more and more, it resonated with me that, one, I am enough. Okay. And two, my people are out there, right? My people are out there, meaning that there is someone out there that enjoys what I bring, that enjoys what I bring to the table, that enjoys how I speak, that enjoys my voice. So don't think that you don't have a place as a leader, because oftentimes you're leading more than you think you are just by speaking, because you're brave to say something or do something that maybe somebody else isn't. But in that moment, you're giving somebody else courage to lead. Where if they see you, they're like, well, dang, if she did it, then I can do it too. What's my point? What's my point in holding and waiting? I can do it just like they did. Okay. So just keep that in mind, as you're reflecting on that question that I asked you. Okay. Quiet impact may not always be visible right away, but what I can assure you is that it's always, always felt. Okay. And that goes back to that example where people actually feel, how you made them feel. Okay. So you may not see it, but they feel it. Okay. And the more that you move forward and you recognize it, the more that you will be able to lead and lean into it. So lead, Lead, and lean, Lean, into it. So that's all that I have for you today. I just want to leave you with that word. I want to thank you so much for taking time out to spend time with me today. I think I had a question. I think, why do some people often get their hat or title placed on you just because you are the quiet, low key one? Yes, I totally agree. That's a way I will say definitely that you're leading. You're a quiet leader, and you didn't even realize that you were a quiet leader. So, yeah, that hat has been placed on me many, many times, and it sounds like I'm not the only one that has had that title placed on them. So, keep leading is what I will tell you. Okay. Now, closing out of here, again, I just want to thank you for spending some time with me today. This conversation, I will tell you, marks the beginning of something that I've been building for months, and I'm excited about it. It's a space where people who lead differently can feel seen, right? Who can feel supported and can just feel strong in their own voice. I'll be going live every Thursday at 1 p.m. Central Time. So you'll be able to join me the same place, same time, for more of these quiet authority conversations. Okay. And each week, what I'll do is I'll bring you a new topic or a new theme or something different to talk about, where together we'll lead, we'll grow, and we're going to build this thing with clarity without all that noise, Okay. So, follow-up action for you. One, I need you to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. I want to build this thing. I want to build this movement. Two, follow so you don't miss anything that's coming up. Okay. And then also, I want you to share this video with someone that leads quietly and may not even realize how powerful that really, really is. I want people to understand that there is different leadership, and it's not that being quiet makes you a less than leader. If anything, it makes you a more respected leader. So until next time, I'll see you next Thursday. Peace.